and welcome to my review of Labyrinth of Evil, the novel that takes place before Episode 3 of Star Wars. So right off the bat, here's what I realized I had to do. If I wanted to make this story work in my headcanon, I had to basically ignore most of Season 6 of the Clone Wars, the Lost missions. And I'm basically going to have to ignore the first 4 episodes of Season 7 of the Clone Wars. It doesn't really fit. I mean, I still watch them for funsies, but headcanon-wise, they don't fit. The Ahsoka stuff that will happen later probably can, because you could probably say most of the events of Episode 3, or even just the events of this book, because Ahsoka's off doing her own thing. So during the events of this book, Ahsoka could be doing whatever she's doing in those 4 episodes that we haven't seen yet. And then obviously the Siege of Mandalore would happen during, well, at least half of it would happen during Order 66, if not only the last episode. But, yeah. So, this book is not necessary. You don't need it for anything, of course. Do I think it helps flesh out some things? I do. For instance, we get to learn about a little bit about Grievous's backstory, which is really cool. We get more of Dooku, and of course we get more Sidious. It's James Luceno. It's the same guy that wrote Darth Plagueis. What I really like is just the relationship I get to see with Anakin and Obi-Wan. Because as much as I love the Clone Wars TV show, we still don't get to see enough of it. Like, it's there, but it's still... there should have been more. There should have been more just Anakin, Obi-Wan, like, missions. But we only got a couple of those. And even still, most of the time when we did get it, it wasn't really focused on them. They were just together, and you could tell that they were friends, but that was, like, it. You know, near the end of the book, we get stuff where, like, Anakin is just, like, you know, I'm done with this war. Like, I am so over it. Like, everyone I care about is in danger all the time, and I'm sick of it. I want peace. And Obi-Wan gives him the typical, like, Jedi answer, like, you know, this is what you gotta do, this. And you can see that, you know, Anakin's visibly frustrated. And, you know, Obi-Wan doesn't say it, but in his head, he's, you know, he feels bad. He's like, not only is this my Padawan that I'm failing because, you know, he's scared and worried right now, but he's also my best friend, and I'm comforting him with stuff he already knows, instead of, like, but he doesn't know, like, how to help him, because all he knows is to give him the Jedi answer. He doesn't know anything else. And that's one of the problems with the Jedi. You know, as we'll see later on when we get post Return of the Jedi, we'll see people like Leia, who will herself become a Jedi. We'll see Luke find the love of his life and get a wife. And you know what? He doesn't turn to the dark side. He's able to make it work. He's able to work both worlds. He's able to be more of a gray Jedi, where he can dip his toes in some areas and dip his toes in the other, but never sink into either side and perfectly balance the two. The Force was never in balance because the light side and the dark side were always in conflict. Always, always, always. And the only way to truly fix that is to do a balance of the two, which the Jedi wouldn't do. The Jedi refuse to have emotions. Of any kind of emotion, even good emotions. Because love in of itself is not an evil emotion. Love can be used for good. In fact, that's what I love about KOTOR 1, the video game, Knights of the Old Republic. Literally, the only way to get the good ending, the only way to convince Bastila to stop fighting you is to tell her you love her. And that helps save the day. It stops her from being evil. It stops her from trying to kill you. But again, I thought the writing in this was really good. It was... the story is kind of like... it felt like a Clone Wars episode in a sense. Like a really long Clone Wars episode, because the whole idea with this is that Newt Gunray, the, like, Asian-sounding alien from the first movie, he had, like, this, like, chair that walks, and it would hold images of Sidious, so we could talk to him, like, while he's sitting in the chair, and it moves for him. and it gets captured by the Jedi. And so now Sidious is like, oh crap, they have ways of finding me out. So this is how it kind of hastens his plans, because he was going to keep the war going a little bit longer. But he then decides to move into the Battle of Coruscant, where he has Grievous attack Coruscant, all for the ruse of getting Palpatine, Sidious, on his ship. So we get to the events of Episode 3, where Anakin and Obi-Wan are going to save Supreme Chancellor. Wait, Supreme Chancellor? No, that's a Supreme Leader Snoke. So they can save Palpatine. So it's kind of like the whole events of this book, but I just really appreciate getting more like in-depth, like head stuff of Anakin and Obi-Wan. It's nice to really see their friendship, which will make it even the more sadder when we finally watch Episode 3 and that friendship comes crashing down. And I just think that the book really helped with that. You know, it has some funny moments too, as Obi-Wan and Anakin tend to have, and some interesting stuff with Padme as well, I think. And just the coolest line again. See, they did the same thing at the end of Darth Plagueis, where Sidious is like, Count Dooku could be a good pawn for quite a few years, but my end goal is this boy. If he truly is the chosen one, what better way to ascend to my emperor status than bringing the promised one down? Bring him to me. Make him my partner instead of the Jedi's. And then again, in this one, he's talking, Count Dooku's heading toward a ship that Grievous is on with Palpatine. This is like right before the book ends, so you can get started with Episode 3. And he's like, I want you to fight Anakin and Obi-Wan. His initial intention was that Count Dooku would kill Obi-Wan, and that they would fight, and then it would be a one-on-one between him and Anakin, and if Anakin was able to best Dooku, that Sidious would, stop the fight before he got too embarrassed, and then there would be 3 Dark Lords, and they would have a new powerful ally. Of course, we know from Episode 3 that as soon as Anakin bests Dooku, he tells him to kill him, because he doesn't want Dooku around if he's not going to be a match for Anakin. But, of course, we didn't know. Of course, he doesn't know that. But, so, yeah, it was overall a really good book. Is it necessary? No. Do I think it's even going to be the best of the things that I'm going to read? Probably not. And I definitely did not like it as much as I liked Darth Plagueis, but they also had 2 interesting characters. We have Sidious, who's one of the best villains of all time, and Darth Plagueis, who was interesting. And it was just like an earlier time, so we got to we got to learn more about how the clones are created, why they're created, how they did that in secret. It was all really interesting. This one was like more of a straightforward, like longer, more serious, more bloody, because Grievous, he decapitates some people, and there's even a scene where Palpatine gets found by these commandos of clones, like underneath Coruscant. And before they can do anything, they get force pushed so hard that they all crack and break their bones against like a wall. And there's this one clone trooper who knows he's like in a position that no human being should be in, and he's barely conscious, and he could just see that it's Palpatine. And then he gets like a sigh of relief, because he knows, because like Palpatine didn't even bother like wearing a hood or anything. It just was his face. So he knew at that point, like, I'm about to die quickly, because he's not even afraid to show his face. So anyway, it was a good book. Definitely not my favorite so far of the like 2 books that I've read, but there's more books to go, more adventures to be had, and I'll see you in the next one in our traversal through the expanding universe. Peace out.